All right. Yeah, so for the sake of the new participants, because we usually have new people joining us each and every other time we hold these dialogues, the eCooking Community of Practice is co-convened by GAMO East Africa, African Center for Technology Studies, Clean Cooking Association of Kenya, Kenya Power, and we are usually supported under the MECS program. The goal of the community is basically to bring together actors from the clean cooking and electricity sector through these convenings where we share knowledge and policy initiatives that are happening within the Kenyan e-cooking space. So we usually hold these discussions through the community, e-cooking community of practice WhatsApp group, which at the moment we have over 612 members. And we also do these convenings through dialogues like the one we're having today. So as we proceed, I will share the WhatsApp joining link on the chat for those who are not members and would like to be members. And then we will also share our YouTube channel link where we usually post these dialogues that we are recording here. So if you're on this call, please feel free to also leave your name on the chat, tell us which organization you're representing. And also, if you have any comments for the presenter and the speakers who are going to be taking us through this topic today, please feel free to leave those on the chat. So like I'd said, our dialogue today is going to be focusing on Kenyanizing International eCooking Appliance study, which was carried out by Kisambara Ventures. I don't know why my slides are not moving, but yeah, let me try. Okay, I think, yeah, let me just, okay, yeah, I think that's the right screen. Apologies about that. Yeah, so we are going to be focusing on Kenyanizing International eCooking Appliances study, which was carried out by Kisambara Ventures under the eCooking Capacity Building and Market Development Program, which is dubbed as eCAP. And this program was implemented by Kenya Power and the MECS program under the UK PACT program. So on our first session, as you can see on the program, we are going to have Miss Agnes, who is the founder of Kisambara Ventures, to take us through some of the study findings from this particular study. And then we will have another session, second part of the session, where we will be featuring 3 speakers from the manufacturing side. And these speakers are also going to take us to share with us their experiences and lessons they've learned from working within the Kenyan e-cooking space. So without taking too much time, I would like to introduce Agnes. I think majority of us already know who Agnes is. She's also the founder of Jikoni Magic, which is a YouTube channel that showcases e-cooking initiatives using the e-cooking appliances that are available in the market, but she started way earlier and she's able to tell her story much better than I can. She's compassionate about clean cooking and has dedicated her time to ensure that many people as possible are onboarded to start cooking with electricity. And she's also an accomplished social media marketer with over 15 years of experience. So Agnes, I would like to give you the floor to take us through the first session. And please, if you can also give more details about who you are and what you represent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cypros. To look at your slide, we go to the very first one. I think that's I've written a bit of introduction.
All right.
Yeah, so I won't like read through all this, but I'm in 2 companies. There's Jikoni Magic, then there's Kisambara. So Jikoni Magic is the one that deals with the social media aspect, where we create videos, we record videos for people, and we just disseminate clean cooking messages. And the Kisambara side is the one that is the business arm. It's the one that deals with all these KRAs when you're applying for projects. It's the arm that goes after all those projects that we do. Also, this one that I'm going to present today was also done by the Kisambara Ventures arm. And on social media, like I've written here, I have a few followers on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The figures are as shown there. So maybe we can go to the next slide, Cyprus. Okay, so let me start by just giving a very brief background of what the project entailed. When we look at clean cooking, it has garnered a lot of interest from Kenyans, and some manufacturers have introduced energy efficient cooking appliances in the market to meet the growing interest. However, these appliances are usually generic and are more suited to the countries of origin as opposed to the Kenyan market. So we found that the appliances usually cater for the majority of common cooking needs the world over, as in when you buy an appliance, there are those very basic functionalities you're going to find, like sauteing, you'll find a meat function, chicken function, rice, etc. But the manufacturers tend to tweak appliances to suit the needs of the regions that they're targeting. For example, some of the EPCs will have this menu that says congee, which is rice porridge. It's popular in the Chinese culture, but when you come to Kenya, people don't even know what congee is. People don't even make the rice porridge. And apart from what I've mentioned, the uptake of some of these e-appliances has been hampered by a lack of understanding that accompanies the devices when they land. And this ranges from instruction language to maybe the complexity of operations. And now what Kisambara did for the project was to come up with a report that was going to support international appliance manufacturers to be able to develop and adapt their e-cooking products and services to suit the Kenyan cooking landscape. In addition, we also aimed to help the manufacturers to better understand what Kenyans mostly cook, and finally to propose the best ways in which they could communicate what their product functionalities were in ways that were easy for the Kenyan consumer to understand. Right, so we can go, no, let's not go to the next slide. So the objectives of the project was, first of all, appliance modification, and this was to produce a set of tips that showed that the e-appliances that land in the Kenyan market can be more suitable or made more suitable for the Kenyan market, as opposed to having generic functions that do not really resonate with most of the Kenyan consumers. Secondly, the other objective was typology of Kenyan cuisine, in which we listed the most popular or common foods that are usually cooked in the Kenyan homes. In addition, we also came up with some sample recipes for each typology type, while also identifying popular international dishes that follow similar cooking processes to the foods that we have in Kenya, and also showed how compatible they would be with different types of appliances that are in the market. And thirdly, the objective was to come up with brand neutral social media content, and we produced content that was unbranded. We didn't particularly show the brand of any appliance that we used. And in this instance, we demonstrated to the Kenyan consumers, as well as the manufacturers, how popular Kenyan dishes can be cooked with different appliances. You'll see that as we go on. And if you want to watch these videos, they should be up on the YouTube channel for Kenya Power. So let's go to the next slide, please. For the appliance modification, let's see. We carried out interviews. We had 20 participants, and we did a questionnaire that we disseminated to them, and we did this on the Kobo toolbox. And we also had a criteria for the people to qualify to be in the study, of which I have written here. The length of ownership: you must have owned the appliance for 6 months, and What else is here? Which other one can I? So in the questionnaire, we went on to find out about the functionality, the cost, the ease of use, all these things that I've listed here, which I will explain as we go on. And then there are also challenges and limitations when it came to the project. Some are very generic, like for example, people don't have smartphones, so we had to call them up. However, what really stood out was when we developed the questionnaire, we assumed that it was very easy to understand and that people were going to fill it out correctly and all that. However, that was not the case, which also ended up interfering with a bit of the data. We had some errors because people were sometimes not reading the, what are they called? The notes that appear there, the hints that tell you how to answer those particular questions. So those ones brought in a bit of error. Then the next slide, please, Cypros. So what were our findings and analysis? So from here, there are going to be a few graphs that will illustrate the data set that was collected. And it will also demonstrate what the 20 people who we interviewed preferred, the electric appliances that they were using, and yeah, a few things will come up. So something I also want to point out is that some percentages across some given questions will not add up to 100%. This is also due to some of the errors that we had. But if you want to look closely and just find out where the errors were coming from, the report is available on the MECS website. You can go and look at the original data set so that you can find out which questions were not answered properly and all that. So the very first graph has to do with the appliances that the users were being questioned about. We had the EPCs, the induction cookers, air fryers, and rice cookers. So the way we approached the people who participated here was Kisambara Ventures. We sell EPCs. And it was easier to approach them from that angle of, okay, you've bought our EPC. Would you like to participate in this project? Yes. Okay. If you want to participate, do you own any other appliances in your house? Yes, no. Do you know someone else who owns another appliance apart from an EPC? So that's how we ended up now getting people who had other appliances, because we do not actively sell things like rice cookers as such, but we were able to get a few rice cooker users through our social network. And let me explain this graph a bit. The graph shows the percentage of appliances that are used in combination with one another. So for example, you'll see that, excuse me, the EPC is the most used electrical appliances. This can also be due to the fact that our approach was you bought an EPC, then from there we cascaded down to the other appliances. So maybe that's why not that maybe, that is why you're seeing that majority have the EPCs. And yeah, like I said, it was just easier. Then let's go to the next slide, please. The other one, the next slide talks about factors considered when purchasing an EPC. So from our questionnaire, you can see, okay, from the graph, sorry, you can see that the key at the top of the graph, it illustrates the feature, while the number at the bottom of the graph on the x-axis, it demonstrates the factors of importance, which were used to measure the respondents' preference. The graph shows that the respondents found the functionalities, cost, and ease of operation of an EPC to be some of the most important factors when deciding to buy the appliance, whereas the respondents varied quite substantially when it came to issues to do with branding of the EPC, which appeared to be like the least important choice factor. The biggest determining factor was functionality. And all the participants we interviewed, like I said, they had actually purchased their EPCs from us, and the features that are like the most common across the EPCs are the saute or shallow fry, meat, rice, slow cook, and the delay timer. And some of the EPCs have a localized menu, where you'll find things like ndengu, kienyeji chicken, ugali, etc., matumbo. And this is very attractive to the people purchasing the EPC. Another very attractive feature that the users really like when they see it on the EPC would be the brown rice, because it's very challenging to the people who are enthusiasts of the brown rice. For those of us who've cooked it on LPG or jiko ya makaa, you can attest to that. Then most of the clients who buy EPCs from us always, without failure, ask about functions that are found on the gadget. They usually, most of the time, they gravitate towards beans, meat, chicken to start with. And then from there, now they'll go on to other functions like yogurt and cake. So these ones are usually not really like the prime target when they're buying. The brand, not as such. Some are really keen on the brand, but majority are not that keen, right? This is because with the proliferation of now the suppliers, the ones downtown, they have now started introducing the very generic ones that after sales service is an issue and all that, although that's not the point that we are here for. So they ended up purchasing the branded appliances. How do I put it? Yes, they want the after sales service. However, sometimes their pocket cannot stretch to those other added ons that come with the top brands. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. So let's go to the next slide, please. So the other one, the next slide talks about factors that the participants considered when purchasing induction cookers. Kisambara Ventures does sell induction cookers here and there, although not as much. But the ones who now are owning the induction cookers, in the graph, when you look at it, we will see that we looked at the brand, the cost, ease of operation and functionalities, and also the electricity consumption, the number of burners or hobs, and duration of warranty as factors that respondents were looking for when purchasing. And the graph indicates that the cost, ease of operation, electricity consumption, and duration of warranty were some of the factors that were considered most strongly when buying the induction cooker. And the ones that were less of strong preferences, when you compare to the EPCs, people had very strong feelings when it came to the EPCs as opposed to the induction cooker. You'll find that for the induction cooker, it's kind of mellow. There is not a very big variation. As you can see, the figures are talking of 20, 30, 25%, whilst when you go to the EPC, you will see figures like 75%, percent and all that. So as we go on, you'll get to understand why this is. Let's see, is there anything I'm forgetting on this one? Okay, let's go to the next slide. Just a moment. Cyprus, let's go back to the slide for the induction. My apologies for that. Okay, there are some things I feel like I should explain a bit. The reason also why people have a bit of not such strong feelings when it comes to the induction cooker we found was the fact that inasimamishangwa like what's it called? An emergency replacement for when your LPG runs out. So people don't have feelings towards it one or the other. Some do, but majority didn't seem to have very strong feelings about it. And the more than one burner was not really desirable because first of all, the space is a hindrance. You find that the two burners are bulky, so they will take up a very huge portion. And already the person has an alternative fuel source. And since this is coming in as a replacement or an emergency, it's not supposed to occupy such a huge space. And also the warranty was important to the people because of the ceramic top of the induction cooker, the fact that it can break easily and all that. They were like, so what happens once you have this induction cooker in the house? Electricity consumption was also very important, because the fact that gas is running out, you don't want it to run out, and then here we are incurring other costs that are so high. And also ease of operation and functionalities did not rank very high, because all the participants, what the participants were looking for in their induction cooker was, can it saute? Yes. It has done the onions, it has done the beef, yes. Has it boiled our morning tea? Yes. So you find that they were sticking more to one function as opposed to exploring all the functions that were available. And the branding ranked very, very low, because at the time we were doing this project, I think the only branded induction cooker that was in the market at that time was Rampton's. The rest would be generic ones that you'd find in places like River Road, either unbranded or they just have a name that is unmemorable. So we would ask the people, what brand of induction do you have? They would be like, actually, I can't even remember what brand I have. But nowadays we have other brands that have come out, like Ban, we have what else? OMS and all that. So yeah, now at least the big companies have produced their own induction cookers. Cyprus, let's go to the next slide, please. So the ideal EPC, let's look at that. So this graph, 75% or a percent of the respondents would prefer to have an extra inner pot, which to them is ideal, in that ukimaliza kupika, you just pull it out, put another one, cook, and keep going. And the other thing is, again, from this graph, the energy efficiency, proper insulation, very highly desired by the participants that we interviewed. As you can see, the percentages are very strong, 95, 80% compared to the induction cooker, because of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. And safety came across as a very key concern for the participants. I think also, given the fact that it's an insulated, pressurized appliance in the kitchen, it's a bit scary for some. And the insulation forms part of the safety features. They would prefer for it to be fully insulated from the lid all the way to the sides, because some of the EPCs have their lids not fully insulated. So you'll find just a small portion, then the rest, if you're distracted and you place your hand there, you really burn badly. And of course, the other safety features that can be found in an EPC, the secondary release valves for pressure and all that. And the participants also wanted to have, if possible, both a non-stick and a stainless steel inner pot, because of the different cooking needs that they have. For example, if you have a sweet sticky sauce, you prefer to have a non-stick pot as opposed to a stainless steel where things will just stick and burn. And let's see if I'm forgetting anything else from this graph. No, I think I've covered everything from this graph. We can go to the next one. Desired features of an induction cooker. So there seems to be a general consensus amongst the respondents that all 5 features that I've listed here were more or less equally liked. So they expressed the fact that the induction cookers have ceramic tops as an advantage, in that when it comes to cleaning, it's very easy to just wipe off your spillages and splatters. And the fact that induction cookers are fast was also very attractive to them. Consumption of electricity was very low, very interesting to them. And something that kept coming up was that if the induction cookers came with a beginner's recipe book, that would be something that would be very nice for them, because sometimes you want to use the functionalities that are provided, but you don't know how to use them. So this will encourage people to become more versatile with their induction cookers. Let's go to the next one, please. So what were the most desired features of an EPC? So we found that the steaming rack and the measuring cups were one of the least used or desired features of the EPC. Once people purchased these EPCs of theirs, those things are just put in the drawer, the cabinet. It's very hard to find someone using the measuring cup that comes with the EPC. People will just pick a cup or whatever and just measure their water and keep going. Some people, when it came to the steaming racks, they would rather throw in their maize and gouaches. They were like, the steaming rack occupies a space that would otherwise have been occupied by my food. So more will fit inside as opposed to if I put a steaming rack. And something about the gasket or the, what are they called? The silicone rings, it was a clear favorite. People really expressed an interest in having maybe two come when they're buying the EPCs because of the obvious reasons. Whatever you fry your onions using will transfer to your cakes and all. That's the belief that's there. An extra inner pot ranked very highly, as I explained earlier. And something else that surprised us, because when we go to do the demonstrations, people are always asking if there's a tempered glass, that glass lid that helps you see inside when you're like maybe just simmering food and you do not need to pressurize it. But then when we posed it in the questionnaire, it was not one of those features that people wanted included. Very few were for that feature. Okay, next slide. So the disliked features of an induction cooker, this varied very widely, and we had relatively consistent percentages across the factors of importance. And the assumption that can be drawn from now the graph you're looking at is the fact that most users usually restrict themselves to one function that they stick to when they're using their induction cookers, and they never really stray from whatever it is that they are so used to. They don't experiment. It could also be due to the fact that some of the users view and operate the induction cookers as a substitute for LPG cookers. And this means that all what they want from the induction cookers is we are either taking the heat up or we are bringing it down, same way that you operate your LPG. So we didn't have as in one very disliked feature. Some that I would say was sticking out was something like noise, and the fact that you only needed, you can only use stainless steel sufurias for the induction cookers. Otherwise, the rest, as you can see, they are more or less the same in height. So let's go to the next feature. Sorry, slide, not feature. So what are the desired features of an induction cooker? The graph shows the usefulness of features of an induction cooker. So when we compare this graph to, I'm not sure if it's ahead, there's another graph ahead that will also show a bit more, explain this one more, that I've already talked about this, the beginner's user manual or recipe manual. That is something that also emerged in the EPCs as something that was very desirable. And again, the reason was it will give us more versatility on what to do with the appliance. And we were surprised about the low score of the localized menu because I don't know, we just assumed that people would want to have a localized menu in their induction cookers, but it turned out they're not all that keen. The heat goes up, it comes down, we are good, we move forward. Okay. I guess that's it about this. It's rather very self-explanatory. Let's go to the next slide, please. So what were our recommendations and what did we conclude about the whole thing? We came up with a few recommendations, not a few, actually 11. 11 is a lot. Some are self-explanatory. I'll just touch on a few, not that the rest are. Anyway, so if you have something like the use of pictorials. There is no way that if you put on your appliance the picture of chicken, it can never be confused with a leafy green vegetable. So that one, even for the people who have literacy challenges, that is just straightforward. They'll press on that button and move on. If it's a braille feature, if you have people who are challenged visually, then they can actually touch and move on and pick whatever functions they want. The top and bottom heating elements for air fryers, we thought this was an interesting feature because the air fryers that we have in Kenya, they usually heat from the top. We have seen that there are other air fryers outside of Kenya international market where they heat from top to, the top and bottom at the same time. So this one makes the food cook faster. Also, it cooks more evenly because, when you're heating from top and bottom, things just come out better. Something like the rice cooker, functionalities would be, more functionalities are desirable because the current, what are they called? The current functions that we have on the rice cooker are, what's it called? On, off. Yeah, so it's either on or it's off. There's nothing else you can do with that rice cooker. So if they can include things like sauteing and the like, that would be good. So maybe we can go to the next slide. I think the rest are just self-explanatory. So the next objective was to match generic functions to popular Kenyan foods. And let's just keep going, Cyprus. So some of the functions that we have is like the yogurt setting. So what we were looking at here was, what else can the yogurt setting do apart from just making yogurt? If you don't want to make yogurt, if you're not a fan of yogurt, so you can actually proof your dough in this setting. Yeah. So what happens is the setting for yogurt, it creates the perfect environment due to the constant temperature inside the pot. This is because it's set at very low and controlled temperatures, and yeasted bread can be proofed very nicely, very gently, very nicely, and it does not pressurize. So you don't have to be afraid of that setting. And you just place the lid on top of it, and that's it. And when you come, your dough has proofed, and you go on to making your either pizza, mahamri, whatever it is that you're proofing. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so for the air fryers, we looked at some things that we usually don't tend to do in the air fryers. I think in our minds, we are like, air fryers are for making chips. If not chips, we are doing chicken or sausages and all that. But if you have jiko ya makaa, the charcoal grill, you can, you want to grill your maize or corn there, you can actually do it in your air fryer. As you can see, the two photos show the way we bought the sweet corn, and it's there, the results. You could also do hard-boiled eggs. Yeah. You don't have to put any water. You just take your eggs as they are, put them inside there. On this particular induction, what's it called, air fryer, we set it to an 80 degrees C, and we left the eggs in there for 12 minutes, and they cooked perfectly. As you can see on the side, on that small container, the egg, we shelled it and we cut it into half. You can see it's very well done. Let's go to the next one. And the rice cooker, we used it to make scones. We made the dough, we proofed it in the rice cooker. So to proof it, all what you do is you turn the cooker on just a bit for like a minute or two to get the heat going, turn it off, and then it will proof to the second photo that you can see there. And then the last thing that you do now to cook it, you turn on the rice cooker, and your scones will be cooked. However, what we found to be the challenge in making the scones in here is because there's no water, the rice cooker tends to just go off, because once it senses there's no water, automatically it goes off. So this one forces you to either hold that button down manually, or I don't know. But when you hold it down, it's not recommended by the manufacturer, although we found that one to work. If you do decide to turn it on, it goes off on its own like that. It will take about 5 to 7 cycles of on, off, on, off, on, off. If you hold it down in 10 minutes, they're done. Although not recommended, the manufacturer does not say you do that. Okay, next slide. So the third objective was the coming up with a typology of Kenyan cuisine. And that's the description of what typology is as per the Webster Dictionary, which is the study of or analysis or classification based on types or categories. So let's just keep going. So the objectives here are 3, like on the slide, like it says. So develop a typology that shows the most common types of dishes cooked in Kenyan homes. And then from here, we selected a few sample recipes, which I will highlight later. And we also needed to come up with how we can have equivalent of the popular international dishes. For example, like here it's been written mandazis and donuts, or donuts and beignets, they are also there. And also how compatible these different dishes are to the different appliances that are already in the market. We go to the next slide. So this is how we had our typology. If you've been to the Kenyan schools and you did history, this is something that we all go through. We have people divided by where they came from, where they settled, the way different communities end up staying and settling together. So as you can see here, I'll just maybe pick 2 examples. If we take the coastal Bantus, we have the Mijikenda, the Tavetas, and the Swahilis. They are farmers, and some live along River Tana or next to the Indian Ocean. They eat rice, fish, seafood, and majority of their food is cooked in coconut milk. They do a bit of shallow frying, deep frying, yeah. Then let's jump maybe to who else? The plain Nilots, the Maasais, at the very bottom here of the slide. These are pastoralists, and traditionally they are known for their diet of milk, meat, blood, and what they eat is the cow's milk, the blood. Some, the ones who have farming, or the ones who do farming, they have skumas, traditional vegetables, and their cooking process is churning the milk, the solid separate, the beef is also grilled. The munono is prepared by boiling water, adding the maize meal and stirring until solid. That's their ugali. I mean, different places call ugali differently. And the vegetables are stir-fried. So you can go through this chart later. We don't have to go through the whole of it. Let's go to the next slide. Let's go to the next one, then we'll come back to this one. Sikuzipanga vizuri. Let's go to the next one, sorry. Yes, this one. So this is the one that is talking about the typology of the Kenyan cooking landscape. It's not as clear. I tried to make it as big as I could. But if you really want, you can always go back to the report that is on the MECS website. So the different cooking processes, it's usually the frying, the boil, the fry, or you're frying, you're boiling and simmering, you're boiling and simmering, you're roasting or grilling, you're steaming, you're doing flatbreads, you're shallow frying, or your traditional baking. Yeah, so now we tried to delve into this a bit more, where you find like if it is, let's take for example the frying, we take the shallow frying. So for the shallow frying, you'll find that the most popular foods that are done on shallow frying would be sausages, chicken, wings, etc., plantains. And then the international equivalent would be, you have something like the tostones, which are Mexican. Those ones you make using plantains. They are made slightly different from the way we would make them here, but the same process. We have in Kenya what we call cutlessy, and when you go to other areas, you find that the cutlets are the ones that are similar to that. These are the stuffed potatoes that you coat in breadcrumbs and then you shallow fry on the skillet. Let me pick another random one. Traditional baking. Here we have something like mkate wa sinia, which is the coconut and rice cake that is very popular in the coastal area. And when you go to the Chinese, you'll find that they also have their coconut sweet rice cake, which is cooked very, very similarly to the Kenyan one. And so from there, we now showed how compatible the meals are. If we go again to the shallow fry, the key to this is it's either amber. Amber is partially compatible, not fully. Then you'll find green is fully compatible and red is just not compatible at all. So if you take like the things that you shallow fry, they are partially compatible with an EPC if it is the one that you can regulate the heat. You can actually take the heat to around 185 degrees C. They will not absorb the oil. When it comes to the rice cooker, you cannot shallow fry things because of that effect of on and off. So your things will absorb the oil. When it comes to the induction cooker and the air fryer, things are just fully compatible. Yeah, very self-explanatory for that. I guess that's it for here. Then we go up to the slides that I skipped, sorry. Let's go back up. I needed to bring this one. So from those slides that we showed, we came up with an EPC interface that had also the air fryer interface. So what we did here was we thought, even from the way we interviewed the people, it would be good to have the ones that are combined, the air fryer and the EPCs. However, let's not fix people or force them to buy the entire gadget that has the air fryer lead and the EPC lead. It should be made optional. That is what came out from the questionnaire. They would want to have the option of, I want to do my EPC until when I can afford the air fryer lead, then I go ahead and buy the air fryer lead. And we also felt like on the pressure cook side, these are the meals that people gravitate to, and they are very common. And also from the typology, we've seen that these are the ones that are like the most popular, commonly cooked foods. On the air fry side, these are the foods that are very common. Yeah, so that's like a mock-up of the interface, the way it would look like. Let's go to the next slide. Then some of the EPCs nowadays come with the sticker that has the pictorial I don't know what to call this, the word escapes me. So for the people who are, like I said, literacy challenged, this is very ideal for them. And also you come and break down, like for example, if you have rice, you just say brown, white, you put for people there, you put a bowl of rice. No one can confuse that for anything else. If it is something like chicken, you can see it here, chicken is chicken. So you tell people kienyeji 30 minutes, broiler 15 minutes. When it comes to the air fryer side, draw for people the scones. Tell them cook between 180 to 200 C for 8 to 15 minutes, depending on the size of your scones and all that. If it's vegetables that you want to roast, then you just come and tell them carrots for this long, for broccoli, this amount of heat for this long. So this is also something that the participants in the questionnaire expressed, and that's why we had it as a recommendation. The next slide, I think we have only one more, then I'm done. Let's skip that one. So now for our brand neutral recipe or videos, this was something that we really enjoyed doing. What we did here, just to explain, I'll just take one, then the rest you can read later. if you take something like the chapati, we made it in the 4 appliances: the rice cooker, the EPC, the air fryer, and the induction cooker. And there are videos of this. You can always go and find them on the Kenya Power YouTube page. So we canned the flour the same way you would knead your dough, and you roll it into balls and all that, and then cook it in the different appliances. And then from there, you do a review for the person watching your content. And you tell them, this is what we liked after cooking this chapati in this appliance. This is what we didn't like. So we found that the best, of course, as we would all expect, would be the induction cooker, because it mimics what you know of either the jiko ya makaa or the LPG. Yeah, the worst was the rice cooker because of its on-off, and it was very biscuit-like, very hard. The the air fryer tried, but yeah, let's just say the best was the induction cooker. And I think that is the last slide, Cyprus, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so thank you for listening. And as a conclusion, very briefly, the data that we collected from the 20 participants, it was evident that there's a lot of potential for e-cooking to penetrate in the market. However, what we need is for the functions to resonate with the everyday Kenyan cook in a language that is understood clearly, and the operational bit of it being easy and intuitive, and also that the appliances are safe. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I can say in conclusion. And yeah, let me get off the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Agnes. Yeah, I'll stop sharing the presentation. Such an elaborate presentation. I think we went beyond the time allocated, but it was really interesting. And I think because this discussion is going to form our next session, I thought it was important that we get everything out. So in this next session, I would like to now bring on board our 3 panelists. I should have just left the slides on. Yeah, I would like to bring on board our 3 panelists that are going to help us understand some of the issues that have been raised through the findings that Agnes has just shared. So on the panel, we have Ms. Meredith Mudhoni, Head of Electric Finance at Ban Manufacturing. We also have Mr. Adrian Maina, who is a Chief Operations Officer at Fion Ventures. And then lastly, we have Duncan Mwangi, who is Clean Cooking Representative for groups for East Africa, Group CEP, and I think majority of us know him as the guy who sells Tefal. So for them, they don't have slides, they'll just be speaking. We have some questions that we had set aside for them, but we are also giving room to the audience to also post your questions for either Agnes or the panelists who are coming next. So at this juncture, I would like to give the panelists an opportunity to please briefly introduce yourselves in 2 minutes, and then we proceed with the questions. So Duncan, if you're on the call, you can start.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm hoping you can all hear me. So my name, good morning first, and my name is Duncan Dohue. I represent Group CEP as Clean Cooking Representative, that is for Kenya. So Group CEP is the manufacturer of the Tefal brand, which is well known, and quite honored to share a few thoughts today on how we are adapting our appliances to meet the to meet the needs of the Kenyan households. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Duncan, and please feel free to be on camera so that we can see the person who is speaking. So Adrian, if you're on the call, you're next. Yeah.
All right. Is Adrian Maina. I serve as the Chief Operations Officer for Fion Green Ventures Limited, which is a Kenyan company that is pioneering on manufacturing institutional electric pressure cookers. And I'm happy to be part of this panel today and to be able to be discussing Kenyanizing e-cooking appliances within the Kenyan context. Happy to be here and can't wait to get started.
Thank you, Adrian. Do we have Meredith? Hello, do we have Meredith on the call? Right, I think we will probably start. I see Michelle is on the call. Michelle, please, if you can reach out to Meredith, that will be great. So maybe we just start on, and I think it's a good segue to move to the panel session, because what Agnes has presented here is really important for the discussion we are going to have. There's a lot of recommendations that are coming from consumers with regards to the usability of some of these appliances that we're having in the market. And so therefore, we thought that it was important to also hear the views of the people who are working within the manufacturing sector, especially for our local companies. So these are questions that Adrian and also Duncan, you can both answer this. What are some of the challenges? Because I believe you're working with a lot of consumers as well. So what are some of the challenges that you have gathered from the Kenyan households with regards to e-cooking appliances, especially the international appliances? And please, if you can also just explain to us how you've been able to incorporate the feedback that you're getting from these consumers in order to make some modification on the appliances that you are assembling or manufacturing.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Very well. Thank you again, Cyprus. And I think just to start, just to say that our journey in localizing cooking appliances for the Kenyan market has surely underscored the importance of collaboration, and of course, understanding the culture and adaptability, and understanding that this is always a continuous journey with our e-cooking approach. And by engaging with local stakeholders and continuously refining our products, we've been able to meet a few needs of the Kenyan households. And of course, what has been presented by Jikoni Magic of, Agnes of Jikoni Magic, we've seen some things that we put in place that have had impact in the clean cooking. However, yes, just to share on the common challenges that the users have encountered during their using imported products. One is the language barrier, of course, where menus force users at some point to even pause cooking, and they would have to that point consult backing manuals, or even translate to their local language whenever maybe a product is maybe written in the language they don't understand, like what Jikoni Magic was saying. Some will come with congee, some will say pasta. Most of us not know pasta, and especially those in rural areas do not know what that is. So one is surely the language barrier. Two, once they have that barrier, of course, they waste a lot of time trying to translate. And of course, the time for cooking is affected as well. So meals do delay and a lot of time is wasted. So it's not fast to cook again. I think the other one would be the outcome of the food, since these clients mostly, once they use a product that they're not relating to, sometimes they end up using time that is not matching their local meals preferred time. So therefore, they end up either undercooking or overcooking the meals. And this affects the trust in the appliance, a crucial factor when promoting electric cooking to the first-time users. And to what also Agnes have said on usage of familiar icons or pictorials, as she's put it, there has been less confidence and more usage errors, because if they don't relate to a specific pictorial, then they'll end up using that for a meal that doesn't match the preset time on that cooker. So, so to say that those are the challenges that the users have experienced over time. There could be more, but mostly, I think for me, those are the major issues that the users have encountered. Please, could you repeat your second question? I think it was about, was it modernizing?
Okay, so Duncan, the other question was, you really elaborated on the feedback that you're getting from the users, but how are you as a company checking in this feedback that you are getting from the appliance? Is there a way you've been able to do some modification based on the feedback you're getting from the consumers?
Yeah, so yes, for sure. So the feedback has been very useful, and in our journey to be able to incorporate that. And before I even delve into those specifics, I would love to share gratitude to partners who've been very instrumental in this journey, because they've given us feedback that has come from the end user, with the market itself, like the MECS, who've worked before with Strathmore University on our developing some locally designed recipes. And of course, Kenya Power through Irene and Irimo and team, Pikana Power, we've done a lot of rigorous tests to actually understand what the local meals needs, including the timing and of course the pictorials. And again, to the presenter, Jikoni Magic, who've also been very supportive in this. So for us, how we've been able to incorporate that is once we go to the field, visit field, do tests, do QA with the users or new customers, we are able to document that data, and we are able to actually actualize it through interface modifications, for example, for local relevance as they share. So we implement for example, for Tefal, we've implemented a user interface that guides users on cooking times, and it's very specific to local dishes. For example, ugali, there's matoke, there's dengu, and of course, it's done in Swahili and other languages that are also used international, like Ngwashe. We've also used that feedback to be able to adjust and develop specific parts of the cooker. So, for example, like modifying components to accommodate those local needs. For example, we have had feedback that's maybe Githeri needs more time. Therefore, we have to consider adjusting timer to actually match that need of cooking duration for all the staple meals. There has been feedback that we need to accommodate a specific size of a family, and enhance, of course, the durability of appliance bodies to withstand frequent handling and local environmental conditions, for example. So that feedback, we embed it to ensure that we are able to use that feedback to improve our product. So it's always a continuous journey, but mostly how we've been able to do it is, and maybe I can just share some of the things we've done, as I've already shared, the localizing of meal presets, simplicity, and also visual cues as well. And the visual cues, of course, the pictorial. And just to give feedback on how that has been useful to us is that we've seen even about 40% reduction in post-training support calls, where customers do not frequently call as often as they used to before, because now they are able to understand the product better. So so they have, it has familiarity to their cooking workflows, and therefore we feel that the customer is has high confidence, and they don't have a lot of errors we've also, with that developed eCookbook that we have, which has several meals in Swahili, have also quite helped us to minimize the number of calls to support after selling. Also regards to this, the training and because we've had a challenge during training on customers being very skeptical about cooking appliances, specifically the pressure cooker, and us customizing these dish icons and Swahili labels. This has surely decreased in the explanation time per session when you are on the field. So therefore, it means users have been able to quickly adapt and learn faster. So I think for me, those three has been what we've actually tapped from the feedback loop and being able to improve.
Thank you, Duncan. Very comprehensive. Adrian, do you have anything to add from Fion's side?
Yes. First and foremost, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be able to answer these questions, and also extend my gratitude to our partners who enable us to be able to push for efforts and continuously improve our products through collection of user feedback and testing. So one of the common usability challenges we face is functionality mismatch, in the sense that majority of these cooking appliances brought from abroad are suited for Western cooking styles or even Asian cooking styles, which you might find meant for cooking light meals. So you find steaming is one of the priority functions, and having that context, bringing the same product to the Kenyan landscape, that's where the huge mismatch comes about, because the types of meals we cook are high carb meals, such as ugali, matoke, which ideally would need more power, more longer durations of cooking, and ideally we do not have those functionalities within these e-cooking appliances being imported into the nation. Two, I'd say, is the complex interfaces that we have on these particular platforms, as highlighted by Kenyanizing. I've seen this firsthand when we're ideally testing out our cooking appliances to different regions and giving out service, and their use of these appliances is some functionalities that come along with these appliances are complex. They come with touch screens, digital timers that are ideally difficult to navigate, ideally for first-time users, especially within the rural areas who have limited tech familiarity with encountering such appliances. So those ideally, I would say, are the major challenges that we've seen, and when it comes to importation of these e-cooking appliances. On how we've been able to incorporate user feedback into our company is, for us, research and development is very imperative for us for continuous improvement and development of new iterations that suit the market. Now, our goal is usually to have a product that fits the needs of the market, so they can ideally be able to gain as much value as they can. And working in collection of this user feedback through surveys, through pilot programs, where we, for instance, currently running a Machakos pilot program, and these schools are receiving our cookers and collecting this data, both short-term, medium-term, and also long-term, that ideally help us to improve the usability of this cooker, improve the efficiencies of this cooker, and be able to provide a better product that's best for everyone and best for different institutions, and ideally helping people to save on costs and also prepare their meals in the best manner as possible. And also incorporating some and trying to curate some issues. For instance, the complex interfaces, which are ideally making it easier, recommending and giving people information that, for instance, for Githeri, we're cooking about 50 kgs, which ideally needs to cook this with this power rating that you can be able to see on the cooker, and for this amount of time. So that way, they'll be able to have context on how long they should be able to cook this amount of food for this period of time. And this incorporating this user feedback has really helped us in introducing new features into our cookers. We've moved to now, for instance, to development of modular unit sizes for different institutions, and having a perfect range that ideally works for these institutions. And they can be able to pick and select whichever they need, but we ideally advocate for customer needs assessment to better provide cooker that will be able to meet their needs, suffice the school's capacity to feed the children within the school. And that's some things that we've been doing. And as I can say once more, user feedback is imperative, and the feedback loop is important across board. Even post-selling of our cookers, also getting that feedback ideally helps us to improve, not only on the product, but also internally within the team on how to better service our customers and improve.
Thank you for that submission. I see Meredith has joined the call. Meredith, we were trying to find some feedback. I don't know if you were there in the beginning of the discussion when Agnes was presenting some of the findings on the Kenyanizing International eCooking Appliances study. So induction cooker was one of the appliances that was tested during this particular study, and there were some really good recommendations coming from that particular study. A majority of the consumers considered it easy to use, and it's also being recommended for being versatile in that people can use it in place of LPG. So what we wanted to find out as a manufacturer, you've also worked with a number of consumers, and you've been able to get some feedback regarding to usability of some of the appliances the band manufacturing is manufacturing. So we wanted to understand what are some of those common challenges that you've been able to receive from the households, consumers, and also if you can take us through how you've been able to take in this feedback in terms of implementing them when you're doing modifications to so that your appliances are able to suit within the Kenyan cooking habits. So Meredith, if you can give your submission now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cyprus, for that context. Thanks everyone for being here today. Happy to share some thoughts on the topic of how we could improve the adaptability of cooking appliances, especially in Kenya. So like one thing we do at BAN is lots of research and development around how we can improve user interfaces and the user experience when it comes to cooking with electricity. In the beginning, we always thought it as simple as possible is to have an appliance that has a button that says boil and one says fry, so that it makes it much, much easier for someone to know, okay, if I'm boiling, I use this. If I'm frying, I use this other button that gives higher temperature and more power. Though it does become more nuanced. One challenge we did experience is given that for our induction appliances, what it displays is a power rating. So having people to understand what does 200 watts mean in terms of heat and energy compared to 2000 watts does take some time, and it is really a learning curve. And what has helped us overcome this is even as we go into homes and do selling of these stoves is we make sure we have some sort of cooking sessions with them just to make sure they could understand temperatures and energy needed for boiling or frying different types of foods. And that has been really helpful in helping them adopt these new technologies and types of cooking. So I would want to echo the sentiments that have been mentioned by Duncan and Adrian, very similar to what we also do, just making sure that at the heart of it, we try and understand what's best for the users. We also come up with cooking manuals and recipe books that can help guide them on what power ratings and how to go about cooking a different batch of meals. And this has also been very helpful in making sure that the adaptability happens as fast as possible. So you'd find within a month, people are very comfortable having all their cooking on induction electrical appliances. And it's just because of a suite of all these initiatives that we've been spearheading, making sure that they are comfortable cooking with them. That's all I can say for that for now, Cyprus.
Yeah, thank you, Meredith, for that submission. I think there's quite similarity in how both the companies are taking in feedback and also the work you're doing to ensure that the appliances that you're putting into the market are fitting the context. So the other question that I think also majority of Kenyans have had an issue with is that there's a perception among Kenyans that locally manufactured products are usually very expensive compared to international brands. However, there's a poll that was done, I think in 2020 by Geopol, that actually disputed that, saying 58% of Kenyans prefer to buy locally made products as opposed to 17% who prefer imported goods. That is just statistics. I don't know if it's happening in actuality, but just maybe to put some context into this argument, are you able to, can you please share how you are ensuring that the Kenyanized appliances are not more expensive to the consumers as compared to the imported versions? So for this, I would like to maybe hear.
Did we lose Cyprus, or I'm the one who didn't get the last part?
I believe we lost her.
Okay, maybe I can just share to the last, to the question she was raising. I think the FAL being an international brand, and that we don't manufacture this product locally. I think the idea that the imported products are more expensive, that may not be true. I think it's quite competitive. Of course, the Kenyan preference is that they get a product that actually matches their preferences. And I think it's upon the international organization to be able to actually understand what is it that the Kenyan market wants and bring and do research and partner with local partners for them to be able to bring out the best product. So how do we ensure that these products, or us Kenyanizing this product, does not become expensive? So our products are fully localized during the manufacturing phase abroad, from the research now or the feedback that we get from our consumers and partners. So we incorporate that Kenyan specific features, such as Swahili and presets for local dishes. So once imported, we don't have any additional no need for any additional adaptations necessary. So this strategy allows us to maintain cost effectiveness, and of course by leveraging economies of scale, because we produce a lot of products. So therefore we are leveraging that and avoid complexities and expenses that may be associated with local manufacturing. If for us we were undertaking localization processes domestically, we would surely face increased costs due to the need. Of course, we would need to import some components from China, coupled with maybe local production expenses. So unless local manufacturing offers significant benefits, such as reduced tariffs or streamlined import procedures, to be economically viable for us. But at the moment, it is not. But then again, we are happy that we are still able to bring a competitive product that actually matches the Kenyan preference.
Yeah, thank you, Duncan, for the submission. Meredith?
Yeah, I haven't really seen a case where our appliances are more expensive than what's imported, especially if you're to compare, let's say we're comparing apples to apples in terms of specs of the appliance and quality. They tend to be quite fair from my perspective. And maybe one thing that I've seen that could help incentivize more of us local players in this space to have better priced or more competitive products. It's mainly just around the field of taxes and customs that we do pay to get these appliances into the country. Like there's very little incentive that promotes local manufacturing or local assembly of such appliances against those imported from China or India. So that has been a space where we've really been trying to lobby and advocate for, just to make sure that even as we push the electric cooking agenda, we are pushing it from the perspective of using what the local companies that are in this space to drive that, not necessarily that we're importing troves of EPCs or induction cookers into the country from other markets.
Great, Meredith. Adrian, any feedback on that point?
Yeah. So ideally, first and foremost, I'd like to say, I believe it's to some extent, one would say it's a misconception that localization adds cost. But I believe when done strategically, as we've done in Franklin Ventures, Kenyanizing appliances can significantly improve the affordability of these appliances for the long term, also medium term. So at our company, we pursue a multifaceted approach to keep our cooking appliances cost competitive while scaling sustainably. So some of the things we look into is, and our focus is transitioned to localization. Localization reduces import dependence. So by shifting from full unit or component unit imports to local assembly, we avoid high shipping costs, custom duties on finished goods, or clearance delays that ideally might inflate the retail prices. And we are currently and we're always actively pursuing partnerships with local and regional manufacturers to source non-specialized components that would ideally now help us to reduce the costing of our products. And we believe that this not only lowers the unit cost, but also stimulates local job creation within the nation and also strengthening domestic manufacturing capacity. Another thing we look into, and is a major focus for us, is lean modular design. Ideally, it lowers cost. So our engineering team is focused on modular system architecture. So designing appliances that certain components of our appliance that have interchangeable parts that will be able to serve multiple models that we have. So it reduces the size and the cost of inventory that we might need for every new iteration of our cooker, and this also enables faster repairs. So swap modules are beneficial in this sense because you ideally don't need to replace now all unit if one of our cookers ideally has an issue. And that ideally helps to lower the cost. And finally is we look into different financial innovations that also, in conjunction with the other 2 points I've mentioned, help to drive affordability. So recognizing at times for certain products, upfront cost might act as a key barrier for households or even institutions alike. So we embed inclusive financial models into our distribution. So yeah, I believe everyone has heard of the pay-as-you-go, that is to own, and also tied pricing and bundling. And we try to incorporate all these three, and for us, we've seen that it's been able to help. And also something to echo, like what Magania said, is tax incentive advocacy. As part of the Clean Cooking Alliance, national stakeholder groups, we ideally would be pushing for duty waivers on essential imports tied to green technology and zero rating VAT on components for locally assembled electric cookers will ideally go a long way to reducing the costs and also helping in eradication of the misconception of localization adds cost and therefore expensive as compared to imported versions.
Yeah, thank you both for those submissions with regards to the cost of appliances going up when it's locally made and if it's comparable to imported products. So I'm seeing there's a question, because I'm seeing we're running out of time, and there's a question on the chat, and I also wanted to give the floor to the participants on the call so that if anyone had some questions, they can ask to the panel. But before I give it to the floor, there's a question from Chef Moses, and I think this is for Agnes. He's asking, can the scones be cooked on air fryer than in the rice cooker? The second part of the question is, apart from chapati being cooked on all the appliances, have you tried naan in air fryer? So Agnes, if you would like to respond to that, and then we give it to the rest of the participants to ask any questions to the panelists and Agnes as well.
Yeah, Chef Moses, thank you for the questions. Yes, the scones can be made in the air fryer, absolutely. But the reason why we didn't make them in the air fryer is because of the, if I can just put it in quotation marks, the obviousness of the scones being made there. So for the project, what we did was use the generic functions that are in whichever appliance to make a popular Kenyan dish that is not the one that is on that function written there. So for the scones to be made in the rice cooker, it was just because that's not something you think about first when you see a rice cooker. But in the air fryer, absolutely, they come out perfect. The chapati, apart from the chapati being made in all the appliances, have I tried naan in the air fryer? Yes, I have. They do come out well. They puff up nicely. They brown. They actually develop those what are they called? The burnt marks, like if you did in a tandoori oven. Yeah. So yes, I have tried. But like I said, it was doing things that are not so obvious in the appliance that you're using. I hope that answers the question, Moses.
All right, I believe it does. Moses, if you have any more questions for Agnes, please feel free to reach out to Agnes. We also have a question from Helen that is meant for Adrian. Helen Isiolo, our colleague on the MECS program based in UK. She's asking, she's saying, thank you for the discussion from the presentation and panelists. Adrian, could you please clarify whether you focus on manufacturing or assembly of appliances and inputs imported? So Adrian, you can take that, and then we have another. Oh, okay. The other from Irene is just telling us that the report on Kenyanizing International Appliances on the Kenya Power is also on the Kenya Power website and Kenya Power pages. So you can get them either on the MECS website and Kenya Power website and Kenya Power pages. Adrian, you can respond to Helen. Thank you.
Okay. To answer your question, Helen, we at Fieldbuild Ventures focus on manufacturing, but we do have one component that we ideally is because we don't have manufacturing manufacturers who have a particular for a particular cooker. Ideally, I cannot say what it is this forum, but yes, just to clarify, we do manufacturing and not assembly, but there's one component that we import. But other than that, everything else of our cooker is locally manufactured here.
Thank you, Adrian. Any more questions from the floor before we close the session? I'm going to give us 5 seconds to see if we have anyone who has a question. You can please raise your hand. All right, yeah. So I think then this, oh, okay, Irene. Okay, go on, Irene.
Just a question that I've been asked by everybody, a lot of people. Is there anybody who's planning to manufacture the inbuilt induction cookers for those who are building houses, maybe a 2-plate or even a 3-plate? And if they are, when should we expect this? If they're not producing, if they're importing, is there anybody here, maybe attending today, who can advise us, because I keep getting asked where people can get the inbuilt one, so that when they're building, they can install them, even if it's a two burner. Most people ask for a 2-burner, or even a 3-burner, so that as they do their inbuilt gas or other ovens, they can have also the inbuilt induction cookers.
Irene, I think I have seen pneumatic kitchen. They do the inbuilt induction cookers, and I have seen some cooking influencers and lifestyle influencers on Instagram having the same. So they come and install in your house for you. Apart from those ones, I don't know any other.
Meredith, is this something you'd like to respond to?
At the moment, it's not a solution that we have ready, something that's still looking into in terms of research and development. So I can't really give you a hard response right now, Irene, but yeah, definitely from our conversations, it has come up a lot. So something we are exploring to see if we could meet the needs of that market.
Yeah, I think that is all we have for now. I don't see any other hands. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Agnes, Meredith, Adrian, and Duncan bilaterally. But otherwise, I think this was really an important discussion that we were having. And I think it's important that consumers who are basically using these appliances that we're putting into the market, it's important that we take their feedback and also try to implement so that whichever products we're putting in the market fits within their context. And having these two sessions combined was really important, because it's one thing to hear from the findings from the consumers, and it's also another thing to hear what the manufacturers have to say about this feedback that we are getting. So I think this was really an awesome discussion, and I hope we've been able to learn a few things here and there. Otherwise, I would like to thank you all for staying on the call up to this moment, and thank you also for sharing your insights through questions and also the presentations. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Superstar.
Yeah.